The quantum spurs on Jose Mario's boots hummed with barely contained energy as he strode through the corridors of Fort St. Lucille Station. At 7 feet tall, the Texan knight already commanded attention, but it was the midnight black power armor that truly made personnel scatter from his path. Each panel gleamed under the station's lights, decorated with subtle engravings of mesquite and prickly pear, a homage to the South Texas borderlands, where Jose's family had ranched for generations before reaching for the stars. Lieutenant Commander Murillo, Ranger Rick Big Dog Kelly's voice carried the unmistakable gravity of high command. "Thank you for responding so quickly to our summons." Jose nodded respectfully, his integrated Stetson helmet tilting forward with the movement. Unlike traditional Texas night helmets, Jose's was custom-built to incorporate the iconic Stetson shape directly into its design, a modification that had raised eyebrows among the more traditional knights, but had since become his signature. "Sir, I understand the situation is urgent." Ranger Kelly's expression tightened as he activated the holographic display. The projection showed dozens of human vessels, each bearing scorch marks and puncture patterns that Jose had never seen before. "In the past 3 weeks, we've documented attacks on over 2,000 human ships in the Ceti Alpha sector. No casualties yet, but it's only a matter of time." Kelly's fingers danced through the projection, bringing up more damaged vessels. "Our attempts at diplomatic communication have been met with continued aggression. Whatever these beings are, they're not interested in talking." Jose's quantum-enhanced eyes narrowed as he studied the attack patterns. "These don't match any known hostile species in our database." "That's because they're new to us," Kelly confirmed. "We're calling them the Sirius Collective based on their point of origin. Intelligence is limited, but we know they've established a settlement on Ceti Alpha Vic Alpha, a desert world with scattered oases that appear to serve as their population centers." He reached for the black Winchester plasma rifle that hung at his side, a family heirloom enhanced with each generation's technological innovations. The weapon hummed in recognition of his touch, its quantum matrix resonating with the energy flowing through his armor. "So you need me to deliver a message," he said, his deep voice carrying that distinctive Texas drawl that had spread across the stars with the nights. Ranger Kelly nodded grimly. "The diplomatic corps has failed. The regular military would likely escalate to unnecessary casualties. This requires the Texas approach." A smile ghosted across Jose's face behind his visor. "Understood, sir. When do I leave?" "Immediately. The TNS Lone Star is prepped and waiting in Bay 7. Jose nodded again, the Stetson helmet gleaming under the bay lights. "I'll have this sorted by sundown, Ranger. That's a promise." As he turned to leave, Kelly called after him. "Lieutenant Commander, the full threat assessment is in your mission brief. Review it carefully before engagement." Jose acknowledged with another nod, but his mind was already shifting to the task ahead. 2,000 ships attacked, an enemy unwilling to communicate. Sometimes, as his abuela used to say, the only language some folks understand is a proper Texas talking to. The TNS Lone Star cut through the void with the distinctive blue fire that marked Texas night vessels throughout the galaxy. Inside the cockpit, Jose reviewed the mission parameters while his ship's AI, affectionately named Rosalinda after his grandmother, handled the navigation. "Approaching City Alpha, 6 Lerons, Mazo Rahu Sesanger." Jose's carrying the warm tones of the Rio Grande Valley. "Sensors are detecting multiple small craft rising from the surface. Appear to be interceptors." Jose nodded, setting aside the mission brief he'd been studying. Something about it had seemed off, but he couldn't quite place what. "Tactical assessment. Scans indicate energy weapons consistent with the damage patterns observed on human vessels. They appear to be quite small." "Jose, small ships can still pack a punch, Rosa," Jose reminded her, rising from his seat as the interceptors approached. "Prepare for potential engagement, but maintain defensive posture only." "Understood. Shall I deploy the traditional greeting?" Jose grinned beneath his visor, might as well let them know who they're dealing with. Throughout human space, the approach of a Texas night vessel was accompanied by a specific quantum signature that translated across all known communication systems. It was more than just an identification. It was a statement, a warning, and oddly enough, a courtesy all wrapped into one. The eyes of Texas are upon you. The response was immediate. The small interceptors began firing, their energy weapons splashing harmlessly against the Lone Star's quantum shields. "Well now," Jose drawled, watching the tactical display with a mixture of confusion and amusement. "That's about as effective as a mosquito trying to bite through a longhorn's hide." "Their weapons are registering at less than 2% of our shield capacity," Rosalinda confirmed. "Shall I return fire?" Jose frowned, studying the energy signatures more carefully. "No, something's not adding up here. These can't be the same beings that attacked 2,000 ships." He tapped the system interface. "Rosa, patch me into their communication frequencies." "All of them." The cockpit filled with a cacophony of high-pitched squeaking that rose and fell in what could only be described as agitated patterns. "Can you translate that?" "Working on it," Rosalinda replied. "Their language structure is unusual. Based on preliminary analysis, they appear to be saying something equivalent to, 'The giant comes, stand firm, brave warriors of the Whisker clan.'" Jose's frown deepened. "Giants? Whiskers? Rosa, I need visual confirmation of what we're dealing with. Magnifying exterior views now." The tactical display shifted, zooming in on one of the interceptors. Jose stared in disbelief at what appeared to be a small fuzzy creature no more than a foot tall, operating controls inside a cockpit clearly designed for its diminutive proportions. Large ears swiveled atop its head, and what could only be described as whiskers extended from either side of a twitching nose. "You've got to be kidding me," Jose muttered. "These are the terrifying aggressors that have been attacking human ships?" "It would appear so," Rosalinda confirmed, a note of amusement in her synthesized voice. Adjusting threat assessment to minimal, Jose ran a hand across his helmet's faceplate, suddenly suspecting he'd been had. "Rosa, what's the date on Earth?" "April Fool's Day." Jose sighed deeply, pieces clicking into place. "And I'm the fool, ain't I?" Before Rosalinda could respond, another barrage of energy weapons splashed against the shields. "They are quite persistent," she observed. Jose adjusted his Winchester, setting the power to the absolute minimum. "Persistent or not, joke or not, we've still got a job to do. These little varmints need to stop shooting at human ships." He rose from his seat, heading toward the ship's landing controls. "I'm taking us down, Rosa, right in the middle of their settlement." "You're not seriously going to engage them?" Jose chuckled as he began landing procedures. "Oh, I'm going to engage them all right, just not the way Ranger Kelly probably expected when he cooked up this little prank." The TNS Lone Star descended through Ceti Alpha 6 atmosphere with deliberate precision, touching down at the edge of the largest oasis settlement. The landing struts compressed as they adjusted to the planet's gravity, and the vessel's quantum engines powered down to a low hum. The ramp extended with a hiss of hydraulics, and Jose emerged, his black armor gleaming in the light of the system's twin suns. The Winchester rested casually in his hands, set to its lowest power setting. Not that he expected to use it. Before him spread a scene that looked like someone had taken an Earth desert, added 3 times the normal gravity, and populated it with what appeared to be a cross between meerkats and chinchillas. As soon as they spotted him, the creatures went into frenzied action, forming defensive lines and training their weapons on the towering intruder. What they lacked in size, they made up for in apparent organization and technology. Their settlement featured surprisingly advanced structures that blended harmoniously with the desert landscape, and their weapons, while harmless to his armor, showed remarkable engineering. The first volley of energy weapons struck his armor, dissipating harmlessly against his quantum shields. Josette didn't break stride as he walked forward, the alien's defenses about as threatening as a summer drizzle. Small explosives detonated around his feet, creating clouds of sand, but nothing more. "Bless your heart," Josette drawled, his external speakers carrying his voice across the settlement as he literally stepped over a barricade the aliens had hastily erected. The creatures scattered in panic, their high-pitched warnings and commands creating a chaotic symphony as the giant in black armor strolled unstoppably through their defenses. A particularly brave group formed a firing line, their weapons charging to maximum output. Jose simply paused, tilted his Stetson helmet in acknowledgement, and then continued forward as their combined barrage failed to even slow him down. "Y'all are putting up a good fight," he commented casually, his translation software converting his words into their high-pitched language. "Admirable spirit, just not quite enough firepower." At the center of the oasis, Joseph finally located what appeared to be their command structure. A surprisingly elegant building constructed around a natural spring. Outside it stood a creature sporting elaborate decorations that suggested leadership status, flanked by what looked like advisors or guards. Unlike the others, this one wasn't running or firing weapons. Instead, it stood its ground, whiskers twitching rapidly in what Jose's systems interpreted as a mixture of fear and defiance. Jose approached at a measured pace, then stopped a respectful distance away. With deliberate care, he lowered himself to one knee, bringing himself closer to their level. Even kneeling, he towered over them, but the gesture seemed to cause a ripple of surprise through their ranks. Extending one massive armored hand, Jose gently patted the leader on the head. "Bless your heart," he repeated, the translation software struggling to convey the particular mix of condescension, affection, and mild pity that only a Texan could properly infuse into those three words. "I'm Jose Murillo of the Texas Knights, and you might be—" The small leader's whiskers twitched rapidly before it responded. "I am Chertik, High Whisker of the Sirius Collective, guardian of the ancient routes." Despite its size, there was unmistakable dignity in its posture. "Why does the sky giant invade our waters?" "Well now, High Whisker Chertik, I'm here about these attacks on human vessels passing through this system. My people are a bit concerned about all the shooting." Chertik's ears flattened against its head. "The Skypath trespassers invaded our ancestral migration routes. The Whisker clan has defended its territory for 1,000 generations." Jose nodded slowly, the pieces falling into place. "I see. And these routes, they're important to your people?" The small leader made a gesture, and one of his advisors produced what appeared to be a sophisticated holographic projector. It displayed a complex network of pathways through the Ceti Alpha system, invisible roads through space that apparently held great significance to these creatures. "For 10,000 cycles, the Whisker clan has traveled these routes between the water worlds," Chertik explained, his whiskers twitching with emotion. "When your kind began placing their great metal beasts in our paths, we defended our rite of passage as we always have." Jose studied the projection carefully. "I see. And these routes, they're based on particular gravitational flows, yes? Efficient paths for smaller vessels?" Chertik's ears perked up in surprise. "The sky giant understands. We have similar concepts," Jose explained. "In Texas, we had cattle trails that crossed many territories. Respecting those passages prevented many a conflict." He pointed to several intersections where human shipping lanes crossed their routes. "We didn't know these were your trails, High Whisker. Our people thought you were attacking without cause." The small leader's whiskers drooped slightly. "We sent warning messages before each defense." "In your language," Jose noted gently, "which we couldn't understand." Understanding seemed to dawn on Chertik, his large eyes blinking rapidly. "The sky giants did not know they were trespassing?" "No more than you knew we couldn't understand your warnings," Jose confirmed. A long moment of silence fell over the gathering as Chertik conferred with his advisors. Finally, he turned back to Jose. "What does the sky giant propose?" Jose's helmet retracted slightly, revealing his face to them, a gesture of trust and respect that transcended species barriers. "I think it's time our peoples understood each other better, don't you?" 3 hours later, Jose stood beside Chertik before a ceremonial pool at the center of the oasis. The Whisker clan had gathered in concentric circles around them, their earlier hostility replaced by cautious curiosity. They'd shared their water, a gesture of profound significance on their desert world, and listened as Jose proposed a simple solution to their conflict. So, Jose concluded, human ships will adjust their routes to avoid the most sacred of your pathways, and where our routes must cross, we'll establish signal protocols to prevent misunderstandings. Chertik's whiskers twitched thoughtfully. And in return, the Whisker clan stops shooting at our ships, Jose said with a smile, and perhaps considers formal diplomatic relations. There's much our peoples could learn from each other. The small leader seemed to consider this seriously before responding. The Whisker clan agrees to these terms. He paused, head tilting curiously. But I must ask, why did the Sky Giants send only one warrior if they believed we were dangerous enemies? Jose chuckled, kneeling down once more to look Chertik in the eye. Well now, that's a bit of a long story involving something we humans call April Fool's Day, and some of my colleagues thinking they were being mighty clever. To his surprise, Chertik's whiskers twitched in what appeared to be amusement. Your communication device struggles to translate, but I believe I understand. Your leaders sent their largest warrior to intimidate us, not knowing we would be unafraid. Before Jose could respond, his comm unit crackled to life with Ranger Kelly's voice. Lieutenant Commander Murillo, status report. Have you engaged the hostile forces yet? Jose exchanged a look with Chertik, who seemed to understand perfectly what was happening. Ranger, Jose responded, not bothering to hide his amusement. I've engaged diplomatically with the High Whisker of the Sirius Collective. We've reached an understanding that should eliminate further conflict. Also, I believe you owe me an explanation about the, shall we say, incomplete nature of my mission brief. There was a long pause before Kelly responded, his voice carrying a mix of surprise and what might have been embarrassment. I see. We'll debrief when you return, Commander. Looking forward to it, sir, Jose replied. Oh, and Ranger, you might want to inform the diplomatic corps that they'll need to prepare for official first contact protocols. The Whisker clan is interested in establishing formal relations. Another pause. Understood, Commander. Well done. As the communication ended, Chertik looked up at Jose. Your leaders did not expect peaceful resolution? Jose's helmet shifted back into its full Stetson configuration, the gesture carrying all the dignity of his knight tradition. Let's just say they underestimated both of us, High Whisker. Reaching down once more, Jose gently patted Chertik on the head. Bless your heart, he said. But this time the translation captured something different, a mix of genuine respect and camaraderie that transcended their size difference. Chertik's whiskers twitched in what Jose was beginning to recognize as their version of a smile. Among my people we have a saying, the smallest whisker may detect the greatest change in the wind. In Texas, Jose replied, we say it's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. The High Whisker's translator seemed to struggle with this idiom, but the small leader nodded anyway. I believe our peoples will understand each other well, Sky Giant Jose. Back aboard the TNS Lone Star, Jose removed his helmet, still chuckling to himself about the elaborate prank that had unexpectedly led to a diplomatic breakthrough. Rosalinda's holographic form shimmered into existence beside him. You're not angry about being the target of an April Fool's joke? She asked. Jose placed his Stetson helmet carefully on its stand. Rosa, my abuela always said that sometimes the best way to handle a joke is to turn it into an opportunity. He grinned, checking the mission brief one more time. Besides, I've got some ideas about how to return the favor when we get back to Fort St. Lucille. Rosalina's holographic form tilted her head curiously. What do you have in mind? Jose's eyes twinkled with mischief as he pulled up the ship's communication system. I'm thinking Ranger Big Dog Kelly might benefit from a formal Whisker clan greeting ceremony. I hear it involves lots of ceremonial grooming and something called Whisker Blessing that takes about 7 hours. As the Lone Star accelerated toward home, Jose began composing a formal diplomatic invitation in his head. After all, when a Texan says, "Bless your heart," it can mean many things, from genuine affection to the promise of good-natured revenge. And Jose Murillo, tallest of the Texas Knights, had been blessed with an abundance of both. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Video shares, memberships, and super thanks help the channel grow as well, so feel free to partner with this channel in that way as we grow. With that all said, thank you again for listening to the story, and thank you for your time. On the left side of your screen are some videos I think you might be interested in. I hope to see you in the next one.